I do use every day, maybe a little.
You know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're about ready to go now. What's the volume, Scott?
Just a tad higher.
A little bit higher? Is that a tad? Good. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody here on this beautiful, what is it, summer morning?
It's a summer morning.
Wow. What about this temperature? But even the golfers that are out, and I see they're aiming directly at this window. So just, if you hear a sudden bang on the window, you'll know that they overshot. At any rate, we have a volunteer to lead us in an invocation. Gary, could you do the honor?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Please join me and bow your heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligations. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage, that we may do our duty and serve our community. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And I think I will do the honors this morning of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, so would you all rise? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This morning we are pleased to have this meeting co-hosted by the Medina County Teenage Republicans. And John, Julia, would you stand and just, give a quick. If there's anything that absolutely delights us about what's going on this year, it's the fact that we've got another generation of conservatives coming behind us, getting organized, and building on the movement. After all, some of us are not going to be here forever. We've got to pass the baton on, and we're really just thrilled to see people stepping forward to take that on. And John, I believe the next thing on the agenda is for you with a little congratulations.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here today to congratulate Miss Nancy Abbott, who was just elected to the chairman of the Medina County GOP. And Nancy, she's always been an outsider person, meaning that she has sponsored groups such as MCFAN and the Tea Party that aren't necessarily affiliated with the Republican Party in Medina. And during MCFAN's first year, Nancy gave 10-minute Constitution lessons back at the Golden Corral, if any of you guys remember when it was held there. And she has been the primary link between the Medina County GOP and MCFAN, and has really introduced a lot of the members to the party and has got them involved as well. And she's actually one of the new architects of the new grassroots-friendly county party of 2012. So it's really great to see her out there, working with everyone and trying to get both the Medina County Republican Party and grassroots organizations involved, because that's really important to us here at MCFAN. And she was actually elected unanimously as the county chairman at the last meeting, and she replaced Mr. Kevin Dunn, who was appointed to one of the judges of the State House. So congratulations to Nancy again.
Nancy, did you want to make a speech?
I don't think so. I just want to remind everybody that we have our Republican picnic is on September 22nd on the square in Medina, hot dogs and ice cream. I think it starts at 1:30. We'd like to see all of you out there. I'm going to invite all of our state reps from the county as well as county elected officials to come out. So it's, and anybody running for local election ought to come out and just meet everybody. So it's just a good time, come on out, meet people that have the same ideas that you do and have a good time. Again, that's September 22nd. That's a Sunday, so 1:30 till 4-ish. So come out and see you then.
Thanks, Nancy.
And also that is co-hosted by AM 420, The Answer will be co-hosting.
1420.
1420, I'm sorry, what is? 420. 1420, and that's The Answer.
Okay, let's see. Introduction of elected officials is the next thing on our agenda. Nancy, of course, is municipal court clerk. Gary Werner, who gave the invocation, is mayor of Brunswick. And I think I saw Ron Falcone back there, Brunswick city councilman. Any others that I might have missed? Nope. All right, do we have any new candidates in the room with us today? All right, we're gonna try and see if we can get some of those in here to talk to us. I got a list of who they are from the Board of Elections now, and I've identified which ones are Republicans and which ones are Democrats and which ones are independents. But that's pretty much the 50,000 foot view. I'd really like to know more about them. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have been following the Medina School District Board of Education and holding their nose. I mean, they talk about inept. We were watching that in 2 years ago, the election. There was only one person running, that was a Republican that was running. They were all Democrats except for one person. And we did contact that one person, and well, there are good Republicans, and sometimes there are, yeah. So, at any rate, we're glad that he's no longer on the school board. Hopefully, in November, we'll be able to elect some really good conservatives to that school board, and maybe then that school district will get turned around. So, local elections, even nonpartisan elections, do matter. MCFAN is very interested in nonpartisan elections. We can go there. So, do we have any new guests with us this morning? All right, well, I'm glad you came. Hope you come again. We're gonna really try to intimidate you and keep you from coming again. Anyway, yeah, we started up about 2008, and we just felt there was a need for a conservative grassroots organization in Medina County, and we weren't seeing it, so we decided to start up our own. Ever since then, we work to identify others like ourselves, any way we can. Try to get them interested in what we're doing, and this public forum meeting is one of the primary ways. And help them get informed, get involved, and make a difference. We have a big tent, it's nonpartisan, we got people of all, we got Democrats, we got Republicans, we got independents, and all of them are welcome. We also welcome a variety of views, not all of which we agree with. But the rules are fairly simple. Just keep it civil and keep it non-personal. It is still a private meeting, so we can eject people if we need to. And on very, very rare occasions, we've done that once, I think. So anyway, our emphasis on focusing on that which unites us and setting aside to another day that which divides us. So that's about it for us. And now I'd like to have Julia from the Teenage Republicans introduce our guest speaker. Julia?
Hi everybody. It is an absolute honor for me to get to introduce our guest speaker today. Our speaker is Matt Borges, who was recently elected to the chairman of the Ohio GOP. That was on July 29th, 2013. He took over the position from Bob Bennett, who retired in May, But before that, he has been long active in the Ohio GOP. He was executive director since June of 2012. And even before that, he served as chief of staff under Ohio treasurer and was campaign manager for Dave Yost in 2010. So we're very excited to have him. And like I said, it's a really great honor for me to get to introduce him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to come and be with us on a beautiful Saturday morning. It is my pleasure and privilege to be here with you today. Thank you very much for that kind introduction, and John, Judith, and thank you for what you're doing. We'll touch on this here in a bit, but just to echo Jim's sentiments about how incredibly important it is to continue to get young people involved in our causes, and understanding the importance of the direction that this country is headed in cannot be overstated. We have to be vigilant, and we have to continue to do that. So thank you for your leadership in helping us get that done. And as Julie mentioned, I was honored to be elected recently as chairman of the Ohio Republican Party. And Jim Woods, one of our great state committee members, was a supporter and an ally in that process, and I appreciated him for being there. And more than that, I appreciate him for caring about our party and for caring about our causes. More than anything else, this has to be a cause. And it has been for me ever since I started in politics 20 some odd years ago, and Mayor George Voinovich was running for governor of Ohio, and I got involved in that campaign. Little did I know what I was getting myself into when I walked in to the campaign headquarters and volunteered for the first time as an 18-year-old college student. And said, hey, what can I do to help? And here we are, however many years later, having been on an incredible, remarkable journey through Ohio, working on campaigns and working nationally on campaigns, working with presidents and vice presidents and candidates for president, and really having just a tremendous experience that now has led me to the point where I hold this title. But throughout that entire journey, throughout that entire experience, I always had to remind myself that this was still a cause for me. Sometimes politics can become a business. And when the business of politics overtakes the importance of the causes that we're fighting for, that's the time when it's time to go find something else to do. And so I wake up every morning recommitting myself to fighting for the values and the principles that we believe in, understanding that the difference between us and them is the difference between right and wrong on so many issues. And it is because of that commitment to wanting to make things better for our communities and for our families, for Ohioans, for the citizens of this country, that I take this responsibility and took this oath to carry out the duties of this office with such unbelievable honor and privilege. And it really is just a remarkable culmination to a long journey to get to serve in this capacity. I understand the enormous responsibility that comes along with it, without any question. We have a lot of work to do. Let's just be very candid with one another right now. As the way things stand in Ohio and the way things stand in our country and in our society, with popular culture and mainstream media, you know, it seems sometimes that we're running uphill all the time, and that it's becoming harder and harder for us to make sure that we elect conservatives who can govern in a way that we can all be proud of, and that we know will help move this country in the right direction. No better example than 2012. I know that we had an amazing amount of enthusiasm and willingness to work, and everything seemed like it was there for us to take back the White House, start undoing some of these unbelievably bad policies that have been promulgated by this White House and the Democrats and Congress, and take this country back in the right direction. and we fell short. And we have to be reminded of is that if we want to govern, we want to make sure that we're doing the right things that we believe in, fighting for the principles and causes that make us get up and want to come to meetings like this, talk to our elected officials and party leaders and discuss our ideas. We got to win elections. That's what we have to do. The way our process works. So the consequences of not winning are dire. And they're not just dire for the country. I think that last November on election night, it wasn't just a bad night for me or a disappointing night for the people who were working on the campaign and the countless volunteer hours that tens of thousands of Ohioans put in across the state, and not just across Ohio, but across the country. And to fail so spectacularly was crushing. But really more important than that, it was a really bad night for this country. And truly, for the first time in my life, I started to wonder, can we make it for these next 4 years? What's this country going to look like by the time we get out on the other side? There's no question in my mind that in 2016 we better get this right. We better make Ohio red again. You can't count to 270 electoral votes for a Republican without Ohio in your column. You can't do it. So if we're going to get a Republican back in the White House and start getting conservatives appointed to the United States Supreme Court and the federal bench across the country and undo this awful Obamacare legislation and replace it with something that makes some semblance of some kind of sense, that's where it's going to start. So working together is going to be an extraordinarily important part of getting that to happen. And this is where it begins. I ran for chairman, and it's not a very high-profile race or election, but there was some coverage of it, and I had an opponent who is a good man and a decent person, and someone who came out and helped us get a conversation going about the direction of our party. I'm glad that we did that. We needed to have that conversation. I'm glad that we didn't go through that process and allow a lot of these things that are troubling all of us to bubble under the surface and continue to be there. We needed a cathartic conversation to begin to have about what we want to see in the direction of this party. And had I been unopposed, had it just been a rubber stamp, I might not have heard a lot of the voices and opinions and things that I needed to hear in that process to make sure that I'm taking a lot of those ideas and philosophies and important points of view with me to the job that I have now. And I do. And the other thing that's been important for me since I've started this process, since I was sworn in as chairman and took on this title and took on these responsibilities, is getting up every day and getting around the state and meeting with groups like this. And I've been on the road pretty much every day since I've been elected chairman. And I'm happy to do it. This is the lifeblood of our effort if we're going to fight for our causes and for our freedoms. It's in rooms like this. It's with people who come to express their concerns and talk about the direction of our party and our country, where we have an opportunity to get together and find common ground, talk through issues, understand one another, listen, and trust me, I take this feedback back with me to Columbus. I talk to our folks and get around the table and say, what can we do to make this process better? How can we listen to the folks that are out there, with real concerns and the folks we rely on when campaign season comes around, and say, what are we doing to make sure that their voices are being heard in our party? One of the things that was so very frustrating to me about the campaign in 2012, and this is really no different than the way it was in 2008, was that there were folks in an office, whether it was in Boston, Washington, or wherever, who thought they knew how to win in Ohio better than we did. And they sent people to Ohio who thought they knew how to win campaigns in Ohio better than we did. Well, they bragged for just a couple of seconds, if you may indulge me. I've been working in Republican politics in Ohio since 1990. And when I got here, when I arrived on the scene, there wasn't a single Republican elected to a statewide office. And in that period of time, we have dominated statewide elections in Ohio for the Republican Party. And in so doing, have been able to make such incredibly effective changes at the state level when it comes to matters of taxes and school choice and life and Second Amendment protections and so many other things that we fight for. It has been worth it to win all these elections. Now, I'd like to stand here and take credit for the fact that we've won all these elections since I got here, but let's face it, I was a child of prosperity, but I learned a lot during those processes about how to win here. It's hard. If you sit around and just take a look at the spreadsheet of registered voters in Ohio, you realize how, in the historical performance of counties and in statewide elections, you realize how difficult it is to win Ohio as a Republican statewide, but we do it all the time. We've swept 4 of the last 5 statewide tickets. And how do we do that? Well, we do it because we run better candidates, who run better campaigns, who have better ideas, and ideas that reflect the values of Ohioans, and we win much, much more often than we lose. And mind you, I know I don't need to convince anyone in this room, look at what happens when we do fail. In 2006, when the Democrats actually did win a handful of statewide elections and held the governor's office and eventually had the speaker's gavel in the Ohio House for 2 years, look what they did to the state. Just a very brief period of Democratic leadership in the state, and hundreds of thousands of jobs were lost and promised tax cuts were delayed, and an $8 billion deficit with absolutely no plan of how they were going to fix it. We took stimulus money, and instead of doing what at least ostensibly it was supposed to be for, and just used it to plug our gap in our budget and continue down the same path, and never take any substantive look at what we needed to do to fix this government and fix this state. And that should tell you more than anything else the things that are at stake when we have these elections come up. These are the Democrats, this is who they are. Look at how Barack Obama leads. Look at how his administration operates. I mean, the things that have come to light over the last several months, I mean, none of us could have predicted where we'd be now, but I think we all knew that this was very likely the way that this administration was operating. But look at the things that they do, and they just so smugly feel like they can get away with. Whether it's the IRS attacking Tea Party groups and conservative organizations and targeting people who gave